Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge,
And I'm Ashley Sledge.
and let's talk horror.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into 28 days and 28 weeks later, talking about things that we liked and kind of just talking about things that we have learned about each movie.
Yes, we're going to do a little bit of behind-the-scenes stuff, just a huge deep dive in preparation for 28 years. Watching these movies definitely got me a lot more excited about 28 years later and the direction that they could potentially go in this movie. And what I like about 28 Days Later is it is credited with starting the running zombie craze. It happened in Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, it wasn't the first one to do it, but I think it was...
They perfected it.
Yeah, they definitely perfected it. It's more aggressive, I think, than Dawn of the Dead.
We might say the word zombie. We know they're not zombies. It's a rage virus.
Infected with what?
Rage. But I hate that name. And so
I
throughout...
think it's so stupid. Like, the rage virus, I feel like, is so silly. So they just got this virus from watching a bunch of, like...
Well, they did inject the monkeys with something.
Yeah, and then they showed them, like, all this stuff to, like, make them rage. And it's goofy to me.
Right.
They're fucking zombies.
I agree.
Zombies have some sort of virus, too. So who knows what kind of virus actual zombies have.
Well, what I like about this, though, is we actually see it. Like, we see the origins of the outbreak in this. Like, we get to see the monkey, and they're, like you said, watching the TVs, and then that group comes in to try to save the monkeys, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back style, and they get bitten.
I feel like they use the monkeys, like, because, like, the whole, like, AIDS breakout.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that was kind of, like, their way of making it their own, like, virus.
Yeah. We also get to see Cillian Murphy, Jim. He hangs dong in this movie.
He does. And a lot of people are upset about this. Like, I read a lot of, like, reviews and stuff, and they're like, oh, we don't need that, unnecessary. But really,
how many movies do we see boobs?
I know. And it's just, like, he woke up in a hospital. He doesn't know what's happening, and he's naked. Like, who cares?
This is somebody's got to have something to bitch about all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So they didn't like the whole naked Jim at all.
And I also like how the film is really grainy. Like, it has like this saturated type feeling to it. And I think that really makes it feel more realistic when you're watching it.
The alien, like, graininess
Yes.
that when you watch it. I think for us, when we see, like, grainy type movies, it's like the nostalgia of it. And it just makes it that much more better.
Definitely more realistic, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I don't know if they did that on purpose or if it was because this was a low budget film.
I'm sticking with that was a conscious effort by them.
They,
I feel like they
did
knew
that
what
on
they were
purpose.
doing. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. I think so too. And
Yeah.
then we go to the church that is filled with all of these dead bodies. And can you imagine the smell? Like, when you open that church door,
Right.
like, the smell of that.
Not only that, but you're going to get sanctuary.
Yes.
And
like this is supposed to be the place of, the Lord. This is supposed to be a safe haven. And then you have all of these dead people. And then you have the priest
that attacks Jim.
Yeah, that attacks him. So it's like, it like flips it on its head.
Right.
Almost.
That juxtaposition.
Yes.
Where you're supposed to be in a safe place, but it's really a dark and evil place. Like, yeah, I really do like that as well. And this also did, the guy waking up in the hospital after a coma thing before The Walking Dead. And I feel like The Walking Dead definitely paid a lot of homage to 28 Days Later. Even though, again, these aren't zombies, I feel like The Walking Dead really, tipped its cap with the way it opened to this.
Yeah, for sure. And even, like, the way they use their zombies, they're, like, they're zombies that aren't just, like, mindless, like,
Right.
they can run, they were in hordes, stuff like that. Kind of like these rage-filled virus.
Rage virus people.
Fucking things. These zombie-esque things.
Right.
Whatever they are.
We also do get a really great practical explosion in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's even got the faraway shot of it and the close-up shots of it. And I thought that I love explosions in movies. I'm not much of an action guy, but if you give me a good explosion...
If it doesn't look
in.
CGI, like, horribly bad, then yeah, like, it looks good. Like, yeah, I'm definitely there for that,
Right.
for sure.
And I loved that practical explosion.
Yeah, it did look really good.
Yes.
And then so there's like sad aspects too. Like Jim, he finds his parents had committed suicide, and it just really it makes you sad because you see the note. Like later on, he reads the back of the note, and it's like,
I hope you don't wake up to. I can't remember exactly what it says.
It says, "You're sleeping now. We're sleeping with you." It's just so sad. Like they thought that their son was dead, and so they committed suicide.
Right.
And he was in the hospital alive. He just didn't know what was happening around him.
They didn't want to turn into a rager. Yeah. I'm going to call him a rager from now on.
Rager.
If they're going to be a dumb rage-filled infected, I'm going to go with that. So at this point, ragers come in, and they bite. Well, I don't even know if Mark gets the infection in him. This is the first holy shit moment.
Selena doesn't give him even a chance. But another thing, these things they do switch so fast. These ragers, like
it takes 10 to 20 seconds.
You know how like actual zombies, it can be over time.
And you may be able to cut off a limb and save yourself.
Depending on what movie, but a lot of them it takes them time. They go through it, like actually has to hit. The virus has to like go through your whole body. Not in these ones. And it turns. And Selena's like, fuck you.
Rips him apart.
She does. She's like, I doesn't care. Like, I
won't hesitate.
Any chances. And she pretty much tells Jim that too. Like, I will fucking kill you, dude. Like, if you get bit. But it's just like, I felt bad for him because he was just trying to save Jim, and then...
Well, we're going to talk about Selena's backstory a little more when we talk about some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, because there is a pretty cool backstory that they came up with for that. And I wish they would have talked about it more in the movie, but there's a reason why she's so vicious.
Yeah.
And she's not going to wait for people.
Which, I mean, I get, but again, we'll talk about that later.
Well, one scene that makes me laugh is we get to meet Hannah and Frank.
Yes.
And they are a daughter-father duo that you fall in love with very quickly. Well, at one point, Frank takes Jim up to the roof to show him the water that he's trying to collect. And all the buckets up there, it just makes me laugh because some of them are like laundry baskets that would not hold any water whatsoever.
There's so many buckets up there.
But I feel like that's also so genius because it shows the desperation of what someone in that situation may be going through. I don't care if I'm going to get an inch worth of water in this basket. I'm still using it.
Yeah. And he was also trying to make like the humidity with like the sheet that he had out there. And he's like, I can't make it work. Right. And he's like, there's been a drought for like 10 days or however long. It had been a long time since it had rained. So you have this rager apocalypse and no water, no rain.
It's just I don't know why. It just makes me laugh to think of that laundry basket up there with all the holes in it. You know, like, is that gonna? But again, it's brilliant because again, if you're in that moment of desperation and you absolutely need to make sure that you and your family are safe, you'll take an inch of water.
If you're thirsty, you will drink rainwater out of a basket. Apparently, especially when you don't have water. Like that's something. And I really love Frank and Hannah's relationship.
So good.
Their like father-daughter relationship. You really like it feels genuine and like they really love each other and they joke around with each other. And he's obviously taught Hannah a lot of stuff because she's super smart. Like she comes up with great ideas and things like that.
Drifts the car.
Yes. Well, speaking of the car, when they finally decide to get out and they go through that tunnel and they are stuck in that tunnel when they get the flat tire. The anxiety.
The silhouettes of the zombies or the ragers when they start running.
Yes, but you see like the shadows of them running and just the anxiety of her trying to change that tire in, just a short amount of time. Yeah. I couldn't have done it. So kudos to you, Hannah. But just, you're like, come on, get it on.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it. Frank's death is one of the saddest deaths of any movie ever. And mostly because of this.
Hannah. I love you very much.
What?
Keep away from me.
When you get that moment, I love you, Hannah. Stay away from me.
I know.
Like, oh my gosh. He knows what's about to happen. He
doesn't want to hurt his daughter, but it's just like it was so senseless, and it was just out of he was pissed off, and he was angry, and and all he did was look up, and that just dropped in his eye. It
you
really
survived all this to get a drop of blood in your eye.
Yeah, it's not like you even were facing the ragers or anything. The blood dropped in your eye, which is really that's horrible.
Terrible. And then he gets completely blown away right in front of his daughter. You know, and at that moment where he's like, stay away from me, and she's like, Dad, like, I think she kind of has a feeling at that moment, but she doesn't want to come up and just say, my dad's infected.
Yeah.
You know,
And then this is where you get the army men.
we got to be safe now. The army's here.
The army's here, so you know they're gonna take us back to their sanctuary, and we're gonna be good to go, right?
They're gonna take care of him.
Yeah, they seem like really up and up men, so I'm super happy that they found them.
Then we meet Mailer out in the courtyard, and we know something's not right. You know, when you see the Rager in the courtyard, you're like, something's up here.
Yeah, and you know, like, I think he's gonna come back. He's gonna come back to play
He
later
may
on.
have something to do with this later on, for sure. But like I said, you want so badly to trust these people, and especially if you're in that situation, you so badly want to trust somebody and be able to make sure that you're taken care of. And especially with Jim now, he has these other two that he's, you know, are depending on him.
Right.
And it's so heartbreaking when you see Mailer and you're like, no, this is not going to be on the up and up at all.
Yeah. So when you see him, and then at like they have the whole dinner scene, you know, like something isn't right with these army men.
When you meet the guy that's cooking the dinners and he's wearing a dress, you automatically know it's like a dress or like a feminine apron.
It's an apron, yeah.
But it's a super feminine one.
It is. It's got frillies.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not
And
that girly.
at that moment, you're like, okay, well, they are just saying that the person that's cooking is a female. Like, they don't take their gender roles very seriously. Like,
But clearly he can't cook.
yeah, and he can't cook for shit.
Yeah.
So, the second half of this movie shows that the Ragers, the infected, the whatever you want to call them, aren't the only evil.
Aren't the only evil.
You know, there's still a lot of evil left in the world. And the people that were evil in the first place now have a reason and an excuse to let that evil out. And
so the warden, he's the warden, right?
like the leader.
Yeah, like he pretty much promised all of his men women. And so now we have Hannah and we have Selena, which Hannah is a fucking child. It's disgusting. And
They're going to be sex slaves.
Yes, they're going to be their sex slaves. And it just really turns your stomach. And
Beyond
just like
fucked.
when they're like trying to make them like
Put on dresses and
yeah,
shit.
put on dresses and get beautiful for them. And they're, you know, Jim isn't for it. He's like, no. So,
I also wanted to add in here, Sergeant Farrell. Hell yeah, dude.
yes, he is a good one.
He's also like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, no, absolutely not. So him and Jim get quarantined
Yeah.
away from the
And then
rest
they're
of the
going
group.
to take him out and pretty much
They're going to take him out and put
kill
him down.
And, yeah.
And it's at that moment where you're like, there are still, even with these disgusting men, one of them had the balls to stand up and do what's
yes.
right. So Sergeant Farrell, you rock, man. We love you.
I love Sergeant Farrell. And yeah, so, you know, Jim, he was slept through a lot of the apocalypse. So he kind of was a wuss at the beginning. Like, not necessarily a wuss, but he like didn't really do anything. He hasn't really killed any.
He doesn't understand the severe. I mean, he does, but at the same time, he hasn't had to get his. When you don't even see Jim get his first kill because it's a little boy.
Yeah,
And-
which I feel like that whole scene was just to come back into play later when the leader
main bad
asked
guy,
him like, "Have you ever had to kill anybody?" And and so he could say that he killed a kid.
Right.
Like that whole scene, I felt like was just
Forced.
Yeah, it was forced. I didn't like that.
What I love about this military aspect is they are done in by their own stupidity of keeping Mailer. Like, that's what does them in. You know, Jim comes back after they take Jim out to put him down.
But Jim, he becomes a badass.
Oh,
like
that transition is quick.
The transition, because now he has these ladies that he cares about, and
he wants to keep safe.
He has to fight for them because he knows what these, you know, horrible
Monsters.
men are going to do to them. So he has to fight for them.
Yeah, and that's what he does. And he comes back and he shoots the chain. He gets Mailer free. They go out to the car after a whole bunch of chaos breaks out.
Oh,
we're not trying to
Mailer-
cover
no,
every
we're just
single
trying
part
to,
of this
like,
movie.
you know, go
Catch
through
you
it
guys
and-
up real quick
yeah.
before years. But you know, they finally get out to the car. They open the car door, and West is in there, the main guy, and he shoots Jim in the stomach. And at this point, you're like, "Fuck!" But Hannah, with the car experience, backs the car up, slams it against the wall. This is when Mailer comes out of nowhere, breaks through that back window, takes West, and does West in. And you're happy as hell now.
Yeah.
You know, you're super stoked about it.
Yeah, so Mailer pretty much went through all of these
Army guys.
Army guys, like he pretty much got them all. So keeping him was pretty stupid, like you said, stupid on their part.
Right.
But I mean, it helped Jim out in the long run. So you think that Jim is gonna die? You know,
he's been shot.
He's been shot in the stomach. There's no really hospitals around.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jim is taken then to the one hospital they have. They have hospitals around, but not.
Well,
you know,
they don't have people
right,
to work at
them.
the hospitals.
But Selena and Hannah nurse him back to health, and the movie ends with an airplane flying over them. They've made a big help message out of sheets
Help
to
us,
signal they're
or
still
just-
alive.
yes.
And they're smiling to end the movie. So that's pretty much our quick synopsis of the movie. But some behind the scenes and fun facts we wanted to let you guys know about. Because I feel like this is cool to learn about some of this stuff.
Yeah, so to portray like the aggressive movements of the ragers, the filmmakers actually casted athletes who could, you know, perform physically, who could run,
And we're talking gymnasts. We're
Yes.
talking, you know, like a lot of heavy athletic prowess to come in and make it look that realistic.
because I mean a lot of it is demanding you're running and running, and you don't know how many times that they had to redo things like
Yes.
that, and you really
No movie is shot in one take.
No, you really had to be like, you know,
In shape.
fit.
Yeah,
so I think
fit.
that was awesome that they that's who they casted.
Well, and then you got Naomi Harris. She worked with Danny Boyle to come up with Selena's backstory, as
Yeah,
we were talking
this is
about
what
earlier.
We were going to tell you guys
And
about.
in Selena's backstory, she killed her whole family in a day. Her whole family became infected. She killed all of them in one day. And so that's why she's so cold. And that's why early on in the movie, she doesn't even give a shit. She just absolutely...
With Mark, she's just like, fuck you, Mark, like you got bit,
Yep.
we're done.
Well, she even tells Jim, I'll get you in 1 second.
Yeah.
But then she doesn't. And Jim's like, I thought you were going to get me in a second.
Because she loves
She
him.
loved him. But yeah, to hear this backstory, like I said, I wish it would have came to play into film, but it's still cool to read about the backstory and how they wanted to do this. And it also adds another layer of why she's so protective towards Hannah at the end, and why the conversation
she's-
she had with Jim.
She's lost her entire family.
And now she has somebody to look after.
Yes.
You know, now she has somebody she can take under her wing and know that she's a protector again.
I mean, she does get really upset, and she's just like, I just want Hannah to be okay. Like, she just lost her dad. Like, I just want her
She's
to be
just gone
okay
through some
with
of the
all
most evil
this.
shit
Yeah.
that she could possibly go
These
through.
men. So Christopher Eccleston and the rest of the actors that were like in the army, they actually went to a 3-day boot camp just to get ready for this.
To make sure they were physically ready. And I think like the scene of them on the wall when the zombies are exploding and, you know, they're actually doing all their... It looks so realistic because it is. They went through this type of boot camp, and that's a commitment to your craft, honestly, for them to go through all this and to make it look that much more real on top of, like we already talked about, the graininess of the camera. And I really felt like that dedication is very warranted.
Yeah, so I mean, I couldn't imagine having to go through a boot camp to
Right.
to
Do a
learn.
movie.
Yeah, but that's awesome. That shows their dedication.
Well, then also, one last thing we wanted to talk about is Alex Garland and Danny Boyle hate this ending. The original ending...
They didn't want a happy ending.
No. The original ending had Jim dying. They took him to the hospital. The girls were trying to help him to get him back. Jim ended up dying there on the hospital bed, and the girls went off on their own. They showed this to focus
Like a
groups.
test
They did a
audience.
test audience, and the test audience hated it. They were like, now the girls are going to go off on their own, and they're certainly doomed because women, you know, can't take care of themselves.
Yeah, I
And,
mean, I think Selena and Hannah pretty much showed that they could take
They're
care
capable.
of themselves. They just took care of Jim. They pretty
Right.
much nursed him back to health. But I don't agree that they would have been, you know, doomed
No.
if Jim died. I think that
They wanted an uplifting ending.
Yeah.
But Alex Garland and Danny Boyle will both tell you the hospital ending is the real ending. That is their ending. And the only reason it was changed was because of those focus groups. And I think that, again, yes, it's a positive that they changed it. They were willing to listen to what people said. But they were so pissed about it that even in the theatrical release, the other ending was shown as a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Like, that's how bad they wanted this ending out there.
They're like, this is the real ending. You guys wanted a happy ending. Well,
Yeah.
not everyone gets a happy ending.
Right. So we've talked about 28 Days Later. I want to show you guys something real quick from the 28 Years trailer. I'm sorry. And then we're going to talk about 28 Weeks Later.
Don't look at what's in front of you.
So in the 28 Years trailer, there's a lot about Jimmy. So maybe that will focus around Jim and what's happened to him 28 years later, or maybe it's a completely different character.
Yeah, you never know. Or maybe maybe he had a kid and named him Jimmy the Second. You never know.
Could be. But the reason I wanted to bring that up now is because 28 weeks later, for those that haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a while, has no connective tissue really to the first one.
No.
Except for the fact that they both take place during this outbreak. So the opening to me of this movie, showing the couple just trying to survive this outbreak, I feel like it's so bleak. You know, like it's so like they're still trying to be happy, but there's really no happiness left to be had.
Well, they sent their kids away. I think they sent them to the States.
They did.
It was like on like a school trip or something, and then this outbreak like went, and so they're really happy. Like, you know, if they wouldn't have, you know, who knows what would have happened. So
Right.
there's like no kids in, you know, they don't have their kids. So
Darn.
darn. And then you have this little boy that's screaming for help. And of course, Alice, being the mother she is, wants to help this kid. And it's just like, Alice, like you have your own children to worry about.
Opening that door for that kid was both brave and stupid.
Yeah.
And it leads to them losing their group and their safe place. You know,
Yeah.
you see the moment where the other girl, I can't think of her name, she walks to the door and one of the Ragers breaks through that door and you see him, you know, biting on her arm. And I think that that's one of those moments where, you know, like, well, the Ragers are back. You know,
Yeah.
This one starts a lot faster than 28 Days did.
It does. And then you have fucking Don. Dude, you left your wife. So Alice runs after this boy in another room and it has the Rangers in it. And Don, the coward he is, he just fucking leaves her. And she's like watching him out the window, just running.
Ain't no fucking way.
Like, how do you just leave your wife, Don? Like, I don't know. Like, I get it. Like, that ain't my kid. Like, you probably should have just let him be, I guess. But
Doesn't matter. You don't leave your wife.
Yeah.
You do not do that. I do love the montage of time passing. Like first it was 28 days, and you get the little montage of title cards on the screen informing you on
Yes.
what's happened in between the time passing. And I thought that was a nice touch.
When you get the, you know, what they rebuilt and how long it took. I like that too.
Yep.
Yeah. And so now that New Britain has been rebuilt, they're allowing people to come back in, but when they come in, they have to go through like
Extensive.
yes, they have to go through. They have to get their blood drawn and
Eyes checked.
Yes, all of these different things to even be let back in, and not the whole entire like city is available. It's only this small part of the
Right.
city and they're not allowed to go.
Sectors. You have sectors that you're
'Cause
allowed to
there's
be
still
in.
like dead people that, you know, their blood gets on you, then you're going to be a rager too. So you have to stay in it. So you have army men everywhere watching all the time.
I love how when you see them, you automatically don't trust them.
Yeah.
The minute you see the military, you're like, nope. Watch 28 Days Later. Fuck the military.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, and you see them working on the kids, and you're like, come on, man, what the hell is going on here? But it does give you that anxiety, but you do realize pretty quickly that the soldiers that we meet are on the up and up, and they are just
Yeah.
trying to help out.
Like you said, the ones that we meet, they seem like you know, good guys.
Yeah. And girls.
Girls.
Yeah, because we do have Rose Byrne, you know,
Yeah.
known Insidious, you know.
And I love her in this. I think she's great.
She is great.
And so
Oh, Scarlet.
then Don, he gets his kids back. They get to come back in. They're the first two children to be able to come back into Great Britain.
So Don is reunited with his kids, and I still don't care. I want him to die.
Yeah, and he lies to them. He tells them that he watched their mother die, which Don, you know this is going to come back to bite you in the ass. Just be honest. I tell him I was a coward. I let your mom die.
We never saw a dead body with the mom.
What?
With the mom, we never saw a dead body, so we don't know if she's dead yet.
I know, but
You know?
that's what I'm saying. Like he lied. He said that he watched her die.
Right.
That they were attacked and he watched her die.
I've seen them biting. I couldn't do anything.
And we don't often get this type of story where we see that the outbreak's already happened. It's pretty much at the end of it, and
Yeah,
they're
so
rebuilding
now it's like
society.
the rebuilding of it.
And one part I love is when they're like, well, what if something comes back? Like, it's not. What if it does? Then we'll kill it. Yeah, like they're so confident.
Yep, because that works for you,
Right.
every other time.
So we don't often get this type of story.
Yeah. So when you do talk about like the army men, I really do like Sergeant Boyle. I think that he is a really funny guy, and like he plays jokes and he just tries to keep things light.
He is kind of a fucking creep though, watching those people smash.
But I mean, he has to watch everybody. Like that's his job. And
Smash.
He's laughing and then he looks away. But
Right.
he does have
The military guys on the roof, they do have a good, like when he keeps running up to the helicopter to the one guy.
Yeah, like they have this, like they have a good friendship, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Like I like how they mess with each other.
The minute the kids sneak out to go back to the house,
Like what possibly?
fuck are you-
What possibly?
Well, they're going for. I get it. Like I'm
They
torn.
want their things. They want.
Well, they want
pictures
pictures of their mom. Because
Yeah.
the one part is, and it reminds me of so many other movies I've seen when the boy's like, "What if I forget her face?" Like that's.
I think that's a real fear for everyone
is.
that
I
has
think it
lost
is.
somebody that they love.
And especially if you don't have, a lot of pictures of them, I think it would be a lot easier to forget.
Well, they don't have anything. Even
Right.
Dad said we're not going to be able to go back to our home, and that I think when they came back from where they were, they thought that they were going to be able
Going
to go
home.
go
Yeah.
home to where they lived with their mother.
Well, they go back there and she is alive.
Yes.
And I want Don to die. I don't like Don. They find Alice, and they're like, "Mom."
She hugs Andy, but she like aggressive. Like you think she's a rager, but then she hugs him, but then she's like squeezing onto him really tight, and like her eyes are bloodshot.
But they're they're not like rager type of bloodshot. There's a weird.
Like she has like these little dots of blood in her eyes, but she as well as Andy, they both have different colored eyes anyway, so that kind of comes into play as well.
Right.
But yeah, so now they tell Don like your wife's alive.
He's like, "Oh shit."
You gonna learn today.
Yeah, like in his mind, he's like, what?
Well, and we find out Alice is infected. She does have the virus,
Yep.
but she's asymptomatic.
There's no question, sir. She has the virus. She's infected.
So what this means is she's
a carrier.
She's a
of
carrier,
this virus,
and she can spread it.
Yeah,
but she
by
doesn't,
anything, by
saliva, blood, anything. But she doesn't show the symptoms of
she doesn't
having
become
the disease.
like the rage. She doesn't have the rage aspect of it, but she can still spread it, and she's still a carrier with it.
Right.
So they, they're like, well, we could do something with this. Like she could possibly make like a.
And then Idris Elba, he's like, figure it out with her corpse. It's like, dude,
Like,
she's trying to save humanity,
You
man.
have something like really great here, and you just want to just kill her.
Right.
Yeah. So Don, being the dumbass that he is, goes to see her, and she says, "I love you, Don," and he kisses her. And
I think she did that on purpose.
oh, for sure. Like you left me, motherfucker. For sure. And
So when they kiss, the saliva gets in his mouth,
and he becomes a rager.
and now Don is infected.
How's that for a slice of fried gold?
Yep.
And it is what it is. Like we finally get to see Don essentially die, but I still hate Don, and he's not,
Yeah.
he brutally kills Alice at this moment. Like
Thumbs in the eyes. Like yeah. He
beats the living shit out of her.
He does, and it's horrible, and and just the way she's like, Don, like
Yeah.
like you already fucking left me for dead. Now you're gonna kill me, like
Well, and then he goes on a rampage.
yeah. So this is where all havoc breaks loose on Great Britain, and yeah. So you have pretty much Don is just going through people and
Creating another horde.
Yes.
Yeah, every time he bites someone, every time he scratches someone, they are now infected. So he's going through and creating this whole new outbreak,
yeah.
essentially.
So like the civilians that are there, they all get locked into like
It's almost like a room or a trailer. You can't really see what it is.
So yeah, so they get locked in there, and they're like,
You
"Why?
can't lock us
Yeah,
in."
like this is for your safety." But it really isn't, because Don gets in through the back, and this part is like you feel like claustrophobic.
Super claustrophobic.
Yeah, like when he's going through these people and they can't get out because they're locked in there, and yeah, Andy he like gets up into like
a vent.
and gets out because he got pulled away from his sister.
Right.
So
And like I said, this is where chaos ensues for the rest of the movie, and you love to see that. they're like, you know what, we can't contain this. We got to bomb Sector 1. I think it's Sector 1. And you see the bombing, and it looks great.
It does. It looks so good, yeah.
But Don hides from it.
Which doesn't make any sense. Like, when you have the virus, like, you
You're
become
mindless.
like this mindless zombie.
Yeah.
Like, you're just after blood.
But Don's
yet
super intelligent about it. Like, he hides from
and
stuff.
he can, like, track his kids.
people.
Yeah, that I don't like that aspect
don't
of
either
it
at all.
But the army is pretty much given orders to kill everyone. At first, they were just trying to shoot the
infected,
Ragers, but
yeah.
it becomes like so chaotic.
It's so overwhelming that they can't.
They have to do the whole, kill everyone, and then that's where you really see like who the good guys are. And
Well,
who
here's where you
aren't.
get Doyle. He comes back and he sees Andy through his scope.
Yeah.
And that's when he changes his mind. He's like, I can't do this. He goes down to help Andy and Scarlett and take them to safety. And this is where, and Jeremy Renner, obviously great actor. This is where you fall in love with Doyle, because he's like, I'm not going to let these kids go. Like, I'm going to make sure that they are safe.
Yeah. So he, talks to his friend, and they are supposed to meet at like at the top of the
This field.
It's like this it was a carnival at
Yeah.
one point. And so he gets there and he's like, you have people with you. Like, I can't take all these people.
I will say this is probably my favorite scene in
The
this movie.
helicopter scene where it chopped.
Yeah, because his friend's in a helicopter.
Yes.
And he's going to land. He's like, I can't take him. But one of the dumbasses that's with him jumps on the helicopter.
Yeah, and so he's like, get up, like trying to get him off of it.
Well, then he tilts and he flies forward, and all the infected, he's getting them with the propellers that are on top, or the turbine blades. He's getting them with those. And it's just, it looks so good. Seeing all these infected getting ran through with a helicopter. I really, really love it. But something I want to talk about right after this, it might have been right after this or right before this, I can't remember. When they're down in the pipes, it's right after this. And Scarlett is leading them through the night vision goggles.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
That scene is fucking scary, man.
But like right before that happens, though, this is where it's the end of our buddy Doyle.
Oh yeah.
He helps them. They get into they like gas everyone, and
They're holding their shirts
this
over.
is another thing. Like, they get in a car and they just put their shirts over their face, and they're fine from this like toxic gas. Like,
Just close the vents.
yeah, like, come on, guys. Like, it's gonna get in through the car, and I don't think your shirt is like an actual filter from toxic
Right.
gas. But anyways, Doyle, they can't get it started, so he gets out and
Push the clutch, and when I tell you, you start it, because I'm going to give you a running start.
And they fucking light his ass on fire. He burns to death, and the kids
With
are
a flamethrower.
watching this
Yeah.
out the back window.
He knew that he was going to.
Oh, he said, I'll meet you
there
at the stadium.
But he knew
knew,
his time was up.
Yeah, but he did it.
It's
because-
excruciating to watch him burn like that.
As the mom has this,
Scarlett thinks that maybe the kids
they could
are.
possibly be a carrier as
Sometimes
well.
it skips a generation. Sometimes it burns out. It doesn't have anything, but there's a chance.
Yeah, and like I said, Andy, he has the different colored eyes like his mother, so it's possible that one of them have it.
Well, right after the night vision part, there's Don. He made it through everything, and he kills Scarlett. He beats her to death with the gun, the butt of the gun, which is a cool looking scene because you see it in night vision. Him hitting her with the gun.
Which when you talked about that night vision, that is like, can you imagine not being able to see and just
someone's
being
telling you
directed
where to go?
where to go,
Yeah.
and you don't know what's in there with you? Like that, the anxiety of that is crazy.
Right.
Yeah, and so yeah, like you said, Don he
Attacks Andy.
He attacks Andy and he bites him. So you think that Andy is going to become a rager too, and he runs from his sister. Like,
Well, Tammy kills Don at this moment. After Andy gets bitten, she yells at her dad and she shoots him twice. The last one being the kill shot, and now Don is finally dead.
Don is dead.
Exactly, Kincaid. That's how I felt. So I hate Don. I don't know if I made this clear. Fuck that guy. He's one of my least. He's up there with Mrs. Carmody as one of my most hated characters of any movie ever, ever, ever. So, Tammy finally kills him, and like you said, Andy runs away from her.
Well, he thinks that he's going to become a rager and possibly kill her too. So he runs, and she runs after him, and he realizes, like, I'm not one of them. Like, I didn't become
It's
one of
been
them.
longer than 10 seconds.
Yeah, so you find out that Andy is like his mom, and he, he's a carrier of this virus as well. So, they want to get him to somewhere safe so they can run tests on him and see if possibly they can make a cure. So they finally do get to the stadium, and that's where Boyle's friend picks them up. In the
he's
helicopter.
like, where are they? And she's like, and finally he's just like,
get in, pretty much, yeah.
And they fly away, and you think it's over, but then we get the city. And what I
it's just
love about this,
all like it's a smoke, and it's just like utter
devastation.
Mess. Yes.
But then you see the infected running, and then what I love about this, it doesn't make any mention of it, but it just shows them running to the Eiffel Tower. So it shows that the outbreak it's happened again.
Mm-hmm.
The infection is all over Europe once again. So it doesn't matter how hard you try when these things happen. No matter how hard you try to contain it, sometimes it's just impossible.
Kill it because
Yeah.
And we know this with any like type of virus, obviously, that it's not you just can't contain it.
You can't stay inside for 2 weeks and it'll go away.
It spreads and it just doesn't happen.
It won't just magically disappear one day.
So
some of the things we want to talk to you guys about some of the extra stuff I thought we both thought were pretty cool. Some of these special feature things.
Yeah, so originally we were going to have a 29 Days Later.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to be a sequel it told the story about British Marines attempting to rescue the Prime Minister and Queen of England. So that's what it was going to be originally.
Those plans got scrapped pretty quickly.
I'm sure they did.
In favor for this one.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to talk about is the boy that arrives at the cabin at the beginning that they open the door for says that he's from Sanford.
Where have you come from?
Sanford.
Sanford's upriver, a few miles.
Now, Sanford is the name of a fake village used by British police to train recruits and practice emergency stuff. What makes it even funnier is it's used in another movie that we like very much.
Welcome to Sanford. If there's anything you need, just let us know.
It's Sanford.
We would make Sanford great again.
Sanford is a lie.
Yes. It was so much fun watching that movie again just to pick out some of my favorite Sanfords. But I thought that was really funny, like that they used that in this movie.
I'm from Sanford.
I'm from Sanford. When I heard it, I was like, where have I heard that before? I didn't know.
And so the empty streets, the scenes, they were modeled after a description from Charles Dickens novels, and from photos taken during the London Blitz from the World War II.
Them just using real life stuff to recreate this, I think, again, it gives it... This doesn't have that grainy feeling of the first one.
But using like real stuff like that makes it feel a little more real. Like, this is the devastation that they had back then, and this is what, they have in this movie, so...
And most of the scenes were shot, they were shot day for night. So like you would actually shoot them in the day to make it look like nighttime, because the amount of money it would cost to CGI out all the lights at night, because obviously there's no electricity, it would be so much more than the budget they actually had if they would have actually shot at night. So they shot it at day, and then they went into post and made it nighttime in post. That was easier for them than actually shooting at night. So I thought that was another...
Yeah, that's actually pretty genius to do it that way.
Yes.
Yeah, so...
So we've talked about 28 Days Later. We've talked about 28 Weeks Later. Which one do you like more?
I actually like 28 Weeks Later. I like the story more. I feel like it's more chaotic. Some of it doesn't make sense with, the dad being smart or
existing.
Yeah, but I like the whole, like, she's a carrier and, she could possibly be a cure, and I like the brother and sister relationship. And I don't know, I just have more fun with 28 Weeks Later.
I'm the total opposite. I love 28 Days Later. I didn't realize how much I liked this movie until we rewatched it. So I'm going to give it up for 28 Days Later. I'm actually going to give that a 4 out of 5. I'm going to give Weeks a 2.5 out of 5. What would you give them?
I'm going to give a 4 out of 5 for Weeks, and then I will give Days a 3.5 out of 5.
Sure.
Like I don't hate Days by any means. It's also a good story, and you like your characters, and there's a lot of sad moments that make you feel things, and by no means it's just like a 0.5 that I like Weeks better. So it's not really it's not that big of a difference.
And this really did up my enthusiasm and excitement for 28 years. I seen all the Jimmy stuff in there. I really hope that we're going to get Jim back in some.
Yeah.
We know he's going to be back, but is it going to be in flashbacks? Is it going to be a character? We know that the zombie in the trailer or the infected in the trailer is not him.
No.
That has been confirmed.
Yes.
Everybody thought it was. It was not.
They kind of made
They-
it look
yeah, they
like
did it on
him.
purpose.
They totally did it
Yeah.
to like get us, like,
Excited and
yes.
talking.
Which is fine. We know what you're doing.
We loved it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, my excitement for 29 Days Later is really, really high now. So we know this was a much longer episode than usual, guys, but we really wanted to do a bit of a deep dive into these movies because a lot of people were telling us during the trailer reaction and our other conversations, like, you guys should go back and rewatch these. Maybe you'll be a little more excited about it, and we are. So let us know in the comments, which one do you like more, 28 days or 28 weeks later? How excited are you for 28 years later? We would love to know your guys' thoughts. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help build the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Our links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror,
Stay who you are.
and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye, guys.